Hey, what's up, everybody? TJ and Carrie here with Muscle Growth Mindset. We're going to talk about ketogenic dieting today.
Yep.
This is a really big, a big diet, a big, I don't want to say fad, because it's not a fad. It's gone through the fad stage, I think.
Yeah.
But there's some science behind it, and it is a real diet. There are a lot of benefits to it. There can be some drawbacks. We're going to get into all that. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions about ketogenic dieting.
Yeah.
What keto is, actually being in ketosis. So we're going to hopefully clear a lot of that up for everybody today. So from the start, the basics, what's keto even mean? What is a keto diet, or what is ketosis?
So ketogenic diet, the name came from what it does. So it's a high-fat diet. Originally created to be like 90-95% fat you eat, and then a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs. These days it's more like 55-60% fat, 30-35% protein, and then a few carbs thrown in there. So the ketogenic diet, the name for it was because when your body breaks down fats for energy, when there's no carbs coming in, breaks them into what's called ketones.
Okay.
So creation, ketones, genesis, creation, keto.
So what are ketones? What do ketones do for you?
All right, ketones. So when your body is starved for carbohydrates, glucose is able to pass the blood-brain barrier, feed your brain. When you don't get enough carbs, fats can feed the body, but then your brain becomes starved, your muscles become starved for glucose. So the body will break down fats into ketones, beta-hydroxybutyrate, acetoacetate, and acetone. And acetone you'll know you're in ketosis because acetone is excreted through the breath, and it causes a sweet smell. And one thing to note if you do this diet, sometimes will cause a false positive on breathalyzers.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah, just to be wary of that. Know that could happen.
Oh wow! I'd like to experiment with that. Okay, so you had mentioned the absence of carbs.
Yeah.
So how important is that?
Well, to get into ketosis, you have to be carb starved. You need glucose. You have to have glucose, but your body has something called gluconeogenesis. It makes glucose out of a few different materials in the body, and you can take into about. It depends on your calorie intake, but for 20 to 50 for a 2,000 calorie diet, I'd probably be 40 to 100 would be safe, but you have to have a pretty carbohydrate restricted diet.
Okay, so
that's the major.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So getting into ketosis, right? Producing these ketones, that doesn't happen overnight.
No, I've heard initially I heard it was like 2 weeks or a week, but people can get into ketosis quickly if they exhaust the body's glycogen stores. So, but the point is your body has to be glucose and glycogen deprived.
Okay. Once you kind of use up all your glycogen, your glucose stores, and you're not replacing it with carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Your body starts to break down fat for fuel, and that fuel source is ketones.
Yep.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, so what are some side effects? Because I know when you start a keto diet, it can suck.
Okay, so when your body becomes glycogen glucose starved, now your body can use fats as energy without breaking them down to ketones, but your brain can't, and that is the real problem. So your brain becomes starved. So you experience starvation just in the mind, brain area. So you'll have keto flu. I mean, you're going to be lightheaded, brain fog. And it can last a while. Like I said, if you accelerate the process, which is what you want to do, you can get that over with quickly. But if you are taking your sweet time, you're not running and doing any kind of glycogen depleting exercises, you're going to be in brain fog for a bit.
Yeah, it can take a while. Like Carrie said, sometimes it can be up to 2 weeks of being no carbs before you really get into ketosis and your body really starts to utilize these ketones for fuel. Mm-hmm. Once you do that, though, then you're good.
You're a fat burning machine.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits, especially I think early on in the keto diet. Like you'll burn fat really quickly. It slows down after a time, but it's still effective.
Yep.
And then the brain fog goes away. Your brain
yeah.
actually functions really well off ketones.
Better, from what I've heard.
It's just, most people, I think, can't withstand the suck and don't get into ketosis.
No.
And then what about, okay, because I've known a lot of bodybuilders and competitors that, they say they're on keto diets, or they're supposed to be on this keto diet, and they're low carbs, 50 or less carbs a day, which can get you into ketosis. But then they're doing a cheat meal once a week, or they're having refeed days, things like that, which are higher carb days. How's that work as far as staying in ketosis?
So, okay, with a bodybuilder who is constantly in glycogen depletion, if you've got a fine-tuned diet, you cheat, you would be kicked out of ketosis for a little while, but because of the glycogen starvation, you probably get back in ketosis quickly. From my understanding of the diet, I don't think a normal person that did that would be good, because you would never be in ketosis.
Or stay in ketosis.
Yeah, you'd have to be, and probably what a bodybuilder would call flat looking a lot to stay in that state.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your muscles. A lot of your muscle is glycogen, right? And that fullness, and whenever you have carbohydrates and your muscles swell up and you get the pumps in the gym, you're not going to have those same pumps when you're in ketosis. You're not going to have the same.
I wouldn't believe so. I know the body adapts. I just don't know. I don't really have enough information to say for sure, but it just makes sense that it wouldn't be quite as effective. The most effective energy system is the glycogen usage, and that is the number one thing that bodybuilders are attacking. So it would not seem to be the best.
Yeah.
Except for looking straight.
Yeah, it's effective. It'll get you. It will get body fat down. The problem is, I think a lot of people, they struggle without carbs. And once you start, if you're cheating, if you're having some extra carbs here and there, you're not going to stay in ketosis. You have to be in that depleted, carb depleted state for a while and stay there. And then, what about coming out of a ketogenic diet? Like, some people do it for competitions, or some people, it's a good way to drop body fat really fast. And this is one problem I see with it. I've seen with it is, somebody goes on a keto diet for 6, 8, 12 weeks, 4 or 5 months even, and they drop 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and it's awesome. Then they come off of their keto diet and they gain all their weight back. Like Atkins, you guys have all heard of Atkins. It's basically a ketogenic diet.
Yes.
And that's one issue, not everybody, but a lot of people had with Atkins, is they'd lose a ton of weight and then they'd stop doing it and they'd blow up. Why is that?
I am not sure. I'd have to see what they're doing, but I would assume they continue with high fats but eat carbs as well. If you continue high fats are calorically dense, then eat the carbs. My assumption is that they're way over calories.
What about insulin sensitivity?
So
if you're not taking in the carbohydrates, you're probably going to get really insulin sensitive, right? Which isn't a bad thing, but if you're really insulin sensitive, you reintroduce carbs at a rapid rate, you're taking a lot of carbohydrates.
You'd have to be like in a caloric deficit and glycogen depleted for it not to blow up your body fat.
So if you go ketosis, no carbs, very insulin sensitive, and then start eating carbs the way you used to, you're going to blow up, probably look good for a couple of days because that glycogen storage is going to fill up.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start to put on body fat at a pretty rapid rate, I would believe.
And you know what body fat is? The body's gas tank. Glycogen is nitro boost. Your gas tank is fat. So your body feels more secure with some body fat. When you give it a chance.
My body does.
It's safe. It's safety. So, the body would probably be like, well, we haven't had any body fat in a while. We need to get some on here.
Yeah. So just be careful, I think. Like, if you're gonna, you guys have heard of reverse dieting, things like that. I think that would be real beneficial. If you're gonna do a temporary ketogenic diet, then if you want to come out of it, just don't go back to pounding carbs. Like, reintroduce them slowly. Get your body acclimated to taking in carbohydrates again. Obviously pull back on the fats. Like Carrie said, you don't want to start eating carbs again and keep your fat intake up really high, 40,
Just rampantly
50%
using mayonnaise and butter on
Yeah.
everything. Like, no, calm down.
Okay, speaking of that, so fat sources, like ketogenic is a high fat diet. Obviously we want to be aware of what we're putting in our bodies and not just load it with just shit, garbage.
Yeah.
But there is some leeway here, when you're using fat as your energy source, or ketones as your energy source, you don't have to just stick with avocado and healthier type fats.
Well, and another thing with, so you've got to be very careful with the carbs, and you've got to be conscious of what vegetables might have 1 gram of carbs per a certain amount. Eggs have carbs. So just to be, if you're only taking 20 grams carbs, but you're not eating potatoes or rice or anything starchy, you've still got carbs in avocado. So it's maybe the healthiest fat you can possibly put in your body, but you can't sit around eating avocados all day, you'll get out of ketosis.
Vegetables in general, like spinach is really low carb, broccoli is really low carbs,
Yep.
but there's still carbs, and those little carbs add up. And I think that's the way it's meant to be, is your carbs should come from those sources. It should come from maybe a little bit of extra carbs from the fat sources, or a little bit of carbs from your vegetables.
Yep.
But what was the vegetable trick you said? What vegetables should we avoid?
Vegetables growing underground. Don't touch them. Don't touch them.
Things like carrots,
Beets,
obviously
potatoes.
They're going to be a higher sugar, higher carbohydrate
Yeah.
type vegetables, so you want to avoid those.
But with fats, you probably want to stick with healthier fats, olive oil, any virgin oil, virgin coconut oil. Butter is not bad for you. There's no negative to it. It's just it doesn't have any of the bonus of olive oil or avocado. They have a lot of healthier other things. Yeah. Butter is kind of neutral. But yeah, you can load up on all the animal fats and to be worse for you. I don't know how. I don't have enough data on the ketogenic diet to say. I would believe, because a lot of the negatives of a high-fat diet go away with keto, because it doesn't stay as those fats for very long. They turn into ketones, which are good. So I don't know enough about the fats. I would assume it would just make sense that you still want to stick with healthier fats.
Yeah, it's nice to have the better tasting stuff, but like I said, we don't know 100% the science behind it. I don't, but I just feel like eating bacon and butter every meal is not the greatest idea. So if you can be balanced, and you can have a little bacon, it's protein and fat, that's fine, but you're a lot better off having healthier fat choices to get the majority of your fat, even in a ketogenic diet.
Salads smothered in olive oil. Great.
Yeah.
It's perfect, healthy keto.
So what would be some negative effects? There's got to be. Not everything is good.
Well, okay. Before we get into the negative effects, I want to talk about how prejudiced I was against the keto diet. When I started, I was like, "What? This doesn't seem such a fad." So, the ketogenic diet was originally created around 1920 as an anti-epileptic diet, so decrease epilepsy, and then they learned that it affects a lot of other things, Parkinson's, brain injuries, and it could decrease acne, obesity, diabetes, of course, with no insulin spikes. And as I read further into it, I found out it's hugely anti-inflammatory. And sometimes I've heard a lot of resources online call obesity is just widespread inflammation through the body.
Well, we've talked about inflammation before, like all disease and sickness comes from inflammation, just about. There is benefits to inflammation, but,
Right.
But for the most part, inflammation is bad, and the better we can control inflammation is inevitable, but the better we can control it, the better.
So yeah, exactly. And so when I read it was anti-inflammatory, decreases free radical damage. I mean, it's basically an anti-aging diet. Like, it's going to slow down all the damage it does to your body, so you can keep you younger and healthier for longer. I was like, wow, man, this is actually a pretty good diet. I mean, there's so many good things for that it works on. I mean, at this point now, I'm going to have to try it. I've already got a plan next time I'm changing my diet, I'm going to try the keto and looking into a lot of ways to do it. But for the negatives, we talked about the keto flu, but that's usually over quickly. You can manage it, and you can find out ways to get through it quicker by depleting your glycogen stores as fast as possible. There are certain medications, if you're on diabetic medications, that you should not be doing this. Liver failure, if you have liver failure, don't. and so a few of the medications, a few of the special diseases. But for the most part, it's good for. I would talk to your doctor if you have any diseases. If you're taking diabetic medication, otherwise it's probably okay.
What about long-term effects?
That is one of the other things. So we don't have a lot of data on what happens after 2 years. So I do personally know someone that has not had any carbohydrates for 20 years. I don't think she understood she was doing a keto diet. She just stopped doing it, and she's living a happy, healthy life. She's skinny, but I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Like no muscle.
I haven't had carbs in 20 minutes. I'm struggling.
So, like once you get, it's like you know when you start a bodybuilder diet, when you start getting that mindset, you know you're like no more sweets, and maybe a week of that, and you're like this sucks. But then after a while, you're like I don't crave them at all.
Yeah.
It's probably the same with carbs. After you do it for a while, you're like I don't even want potatoes or rice.
Okay, you just mentioned something about your friend being kind of skinny, so let's talk about that. Like muscle growth mindset here. You know, we're about muscle, we're about strength. You know, build muscle, get stronger. How does the keto diet fit into that? Like, am I going to get strong on a keto diet? Am I going to build muscle on a keto diet?
All right. So what we know is that it is very helpful for type 1 muscle growth, which is endurance, long distance running, increases mitochondrial function. So it is actually super beneficial for type 1 muscle, but that is generally not muscle growth mindset what you think about when you want size and strength.
Right. If I'm like a distance runner or something, then a keto diet would be beneficial.
Perfect.
I don't think a lot of people know that or realize that or adhere to that. Like,
yeah.
You know, you think of the marathon runners like carbon up, or you know, a lot of times before some type of activity like that, you're trying to load up when maybe that's not the best.
That reminded me, there's one more interesting thing, that ketones are a better form of fuel than glucose. So glucose, they say 1 gram of glucose will get you about 87 grams of ATP, or the energy source. 1 gram of acetoacetate gets you 97 grams, and then 1 gram of butyrate will get you 105 grams. So it's a more efficient form of.
Get more bang for your buck with
Absolutely.
ketones.
Absolutely.
Okay. So back to
muscle growth.
Back to muscle growth, muscle and strength. Like, is there benefits to keto when building muscle and getting stronger? Is there negatives?
So I did some research into bodybuilding in ketosis. A lot of people do it. A lot of people are big fans of it. There's I forget type 2A, 2B, but the strength one for powerlifters. I have not heard any negative. You can just do what you're going to do because you're mostly in the lower 2 to 5 rep range. Ketosis works fine with that. In the higher rep range, you're trying to attack the glycolytic energy system as a bodybuilder for the 10, 15, 20 reps. And that's where the problem comes in. You don't have glucose or glycogen, or it's really depleted in your body. So trying to attack that system, it's really not as effective. I've heard that from some people that try to do it, they said instead of 3 sets of 10, do 10 sets of 3.
Yeah, I've done. I've never gone strictly keto, but obviously getting ready for shows, you go pretty low carbs, and your energy, your muscular endurance sucks.
Zaps.
Yeah. It burns a lot faster. You fatigue a lot faster. Okay. I think ketogenic diet would be great bodybuilding wise for cutting phases, for getting ready for shows, things like that. But I don't think it's probably the most beneficial way to bulk. If you're wanting to put on as much muscle as fast as possible, I don't think that's the most ideal way to do it. What do you think? What's your opinion as far as
I would agree with you
on keto?
I would have to. That would be another thing. Once I do the keto diet, I want to try and see what happens and see how zapped you are. Trying to do a set of 10 or 12 or 15, see how it feels. I wonder what the effect is. How much stress are you putting on your muscle to grow? That's going to have to come with some more long-term research.
I think you can build muscle on a keto diet. We will say that. So we're not saying you can't. You can't get stronger on a keto diet, so don't think you can. So don't use it as an excuse. I'm a powerlifter, I can't go keto. I'm a bodybuilder, I can't go keto. You can do it. My only argument, and this is just my opinion, I don't think it's the most efficient way, and I don't have 100% the science behind it, but I have my argument and my opinion on it. But if you want to get as strong as possible, as quick as possible, I don't think keto is the way to do it. Can you get stronger? Yes. Can I put 50 pounds on my bench in 6 months doing keto? Yes. Maybe I could have done it in 5 months if I wasn't on keto, but
right.
I don't know. Same with build muscle. I could put on 20 pounds of muscle on a keto diet. Sure. How long is it going to take? Could you do it faster if you weren't on keto? I think that's my dilemma and my argument with it. But great for cutting, great for longevity, feel good. It's great for your brain.
Yeah.
For strengthening, bodybuilding type sports. I'm not sold on it.
Yeah.
Form your own opinion, obviously.
Right.
Do some research.
There's not enough. I don't know if there's enough evidence, but I know there's bodybuilders that are out there doing it. So I'm going to have to try to tap into that when I decide to execute my keto.
So what about this? There's, and I don't know if you came across this, there's all these supplements now. Like there's exogenous ketones you can take. Like, I'm going to get my powder here and put my ketone powder and boom, now I have ketones for fuel.
Okay, if it's true ketones, as I've said, there's factual evidence that it is a more efficient fuel system. But do you need that? Are you well fed? How much ATP do you? I just don't. I don't know. I'm like, maybe some people say they feel better. Is that a product of actual energy boost because they get more efficient fuel system, or is that the placebo effect?
Yeah.
Is that a mental thing?
And is it I'm saying, if I'm going on a ketogenic diet, can I take these ketones and get in ketosis faster because I'm taking ketones?
Okay, so ketosis has nothing to do with that. So if you have ketones in your body, it doesn't mean you're in ketosis. Being in ketosis means your body is breaking down fats at a very high rate to produce ketones. And that means it has to be starved, basically starved. And not calorically starved, just the brain has to be, I have nothing to feed on, I'm dying. And the glucose is the primary energy source for the brain. Without it, you have to go to ketones. The fats can't pass through the blood-brain barrier. So really, you have to go through a starvation of the brain. Yeah.
Okay. So taking ketones won't get you in ketosis faster.
Right.
But it may have some benefits for energy. You may feel better on it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't take them.
Right.
I've tried them because I've had samples before. I didn't feel anything, but it's nothing I've taken long term. And
to me personally, like I said, I don't have the data, but that's one of my opinion is that it's kind of a waste of time and money. So.
Yeah. Sorry, all you ketone salesmen.
Yeah. I just don't see the reason for it.
Okay. Well, cool. Anything else we got on ketosis?
I think that's it.
It's a lot of hopefully good information. It's a great diet depending on your goals. So that's any of these diets we talk about. That's exactly what you have to consider is what are your goals? Is it the most efficient for me to build strength? Yes or no? Is it the most beneficial for your longevity or anti-aging? Yes or no? Think about those things. Keto diets is good for anti-aging, good for longevity, brain function, things like that. You can get stronger on it. You can get bigger on it. So, there's definitely benefits to it.
I'm definitely excited to try it for the anti-inflammatory, free radical prevention, anti-aging. Maybe the long-term diet I want to implement. I don't know yet.
Yeah. We did a anti-aging video.
Oh yeah.
So maybe we have to go back and after Kerry does this, he may change his opinion on what the best anti-aging diet is.
That was one of the first ones we did. So yeah.
So opinions change, and we're constantly evolving. We're constantly learning. So you guys take that too. We're going to continue to learn, and we may change our opinions as we learn. And you should do the same thing. Maybe you learned something 10 years ago, and now you realize, wow, that was totally wrong. I was an idiot back then. I know I've done that a few times.
Oh yeah. More
So
than
take
once.
the information we give and, learn from it. Do your own research and form your own opinions.
Yep.
And just know that, that may change over time.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. And until then,
Don't forget rule number 1. Oh, and it turns out I had the time and the crowns today. So.
Hey everybody, I hope you really enjoyed our video. Please like and subscribe if you did.
And if you want to see more, or if you have any questions, leave some comments. Thanks for watching.